So we are being asked by clients on a weekly basis about what is the best way to provide loginless access to Airtable records with editing permissions. And today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite options, that is Glide. Today we're going to be looking at how to use Airtable with Glide. Not only that, we have also a special guest who can just glide in. Hello everyone. This is Steph, he's our head of development and he's our resident Glide expert. Without any further ado, let's get stuck in. So we're going to start things off with a very quick demo, as we usually do. What we have today is basically we're impersonating a transport company, a company that basically does removals, right? You want to move from house A to house B. What we're focusing on is to provide a login-less experience. So for instance, I have this message from my transport company over here, and all I have to do is just click on the link that they've provided, and now I can manage my booking. There's a lot of cool things that are happening here. First of all, I wasn't required to log in. I can manage my booking. I can change the amount of boxes that I want to transfer, and I can just go into bookings over here, and you can see how this booking for John is going to change from 14 to, let's just say, 56. Press submit. The client now sees 56, and after a few seconds, you'll see how it will also update in Airtable. Now, make a note, Glide is a little bit temperamental. Sometimes it syncs immediately, sometimes it takes close to a minute to sync your changes back and forth from Airtable. It's not the best match in the world, I would say, but it works. You have to be patient with it. Now, another cool thing is that you can add line items, and it's one of those things that can get infuriating, but it works. Booking line items, let's say I forgot to mention that I have a grand piano at home that I want to move to my new home. All I have to do is just press to add a new line item. Let's call this grand piano, quantity 1, submit. You get a message to say success. The way that we've set it up right now will take time to update in booking line items and Airtable, but eventually, after a few seconds, it will. And technically, you can make it a lot faster. It's just that we were a little bit lazy. But it will appear here, and it will also appear in Airtable, so let's just give it a few seconds. A few seconds later, we have our grand piano in Airtable, and as you can see, we also have it in our list of line items. Having said that, let's jump in and see how the database is set up from Airtable's side. Time to take a look at the database, and the database couldn't have been any easier. What we have is just 3 tables. In Airtable, we have our clients, just simple text fields. We have a link to bookings. Let's jump into bookings. We have a booking ID. We have our link back to the client, so a simple linked field. We have our lookup for the client name. We have a date for the booking. We have the transfer from, transfer to. Again, just simple text, but you can use whatever you want. We have boxes to be moved, which should be calculated on line items, I guess. But at the end of the day, we just want to demo what we can do with this. Then we have our send link field that Steph is going to explain why we have that. And we also have our Glide record ID, which is essentially the link, very necessary piece of information in order for the whole link to work. And there's an automation behind the scenes that actually generates that, because we assume that your bookings come into Airtable, and a short while after we get this, the client URL ID, the actual URL that we share with the client, which is a formula field and kind of looks like this. Nothing really special. Finally, last but not least, we have booking line items, link to that. And again, super straightforward, just text fields and a number field for the quantity and a link back to the bookings. That's basically it. And now I'm going to hand over to Steph so that we can take a look at how things work behind the scenes, the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, so to speak.
Now let's take a look on how we can set this up in Glide. Now the first thing that you need to do is create a Glide account. And if you're new to Glide, check out the link below. Now once you're in your account, just create a new app. You can click here and then connect your Airtable data source. Once you're in your app, you'll need to create a collection view in order to be able to work on this detail view here. But first of all, we need to have our collections. In order to add a new view within Glide, you need to go to the navigation section, click the plus button and select one of the options here. Now I've chosen the custom screen. Now custom screen allows me to add multiple things in one view. Now the most important thing here is the collection. And let's take a look at that first. Now, the collection is a component that you can find here under the collections, and it can be a list, a table, or a data grid. Once you've added it, then you need to just select the source table, and this time it's going to be bookings. Now, once we added that, then we can click on one of those and we can go in and we can set up our detail view. Now, again, anything that you can see here, it's a component that you can select from our options right here. So in order to set this detail view, I needed to have a section where we can see the details of the booking and also the booking line items. Now, we can set this up with different components. It's always nice to use containers and separators in order to make the sections distinct in one detail view. Now, the section right here, it's all information and fields that come from the booking table, and you can use the fields component here. Now, lastly here, I've used another container where I selected another yet collection, and this time I used the booking line items, where while I'm in this booking for George here, I can only see his booking line items. Each line item, I need to be able to edit or remove. So if you click on your collection right here, you can navigate on the actions section and you can add different actions of edit and remove. The most important thing about this app is that it needs to be public. We don't need anyone to be required to sign in. So we need to go into the settings section of the app, and then on privacy, we need to make sure that this is set to public under access, and then to no signing under sign in. Now, what that means then is that if someone has access to this, then they can see records that belong to other clients. Now, in order to do that, what we need to do is, while we go back to our layout, we need to go and make sure that we hide the initial collection of our first page, which is right here. So we need them to be able to get a URL that directs them to their specific booking. But in case they click on Manage Bookings, which is something that we cannot disable within Glide, it takes them into a view where they cannot see the collection, but maybe they can see something like that. So that's why here we can build something nice with the rich text and image where we can say something about our company and what we do. And then this will look something like this. So if they scroll, they won't be able to see and click and select any other bookings. Now, lastly, in order to be able to send them a custom URL and log into their own booking, we need to be able to create that custom URL within Airtable. Now, one important thing that we need to have is a Glide row ID. Now, this doesn't automatically get created by Glide. You need to be able to add it into your table and then sync it back with Airtable. Now let's see how we can set this Glide row ID. We need to go back into our application and click on data. You select the table that you want to set this up, click the plus button to add a new column, and here from the type you select row ID. Now I already have this within my bookings table, and you can see it right here, but let's take a look at how it looks within our clients. So I'll click here, type, select row ID, and you can see here the basic row ID. Now, by adding this, it doesn't automatically sync with Airtable. That's why we need to involve Glide's API. We can access Glide API by using a make scenario. So let's jump in and take a look on how that works. Let's go back into our Airtable base and let's take a look at these fields right here: send link, Glide record ID, and Glide URL. Now, the send link essentially acts as a trigger for us to trigger an automation within Airtable. Let's take a look at that. We have an automation called get Glide row ID, essentially gets triggered once this is pressed, and then it runs a script, the usual script that we use. Now let's take a look at our make scenario. First of all, we have our webhook where we get our variable, our Airtable ID. Then by using that, we can get our actual booking. And then what we do here is we're using an HTTP call to make a request to Glide's API. We can use this Glide URL that is provided by Glide. The method is going to be post, the usual stuff here under our headers. And then lastly here, you need to set up your request content. You have your app ID, and then within our query here, we need to specify the table name, which is an ID that Glide provides. In order to find that, you need to go back into Glide and then right click on your table and then click on Show API. Now moving on. This API is going to give us all the rows within that table, and we need to filter in order to get the one that we need. What we're going to do is we're going to iterate through the row IDs that the API is going to provide. And lastly, within our filter before our last module, we're going to compare it with the booking ID of the booking that we just got on the second module. Now, once we have that and we filter it out and we know for which booking we're working with, then we can go back and update that booking with the Glide row ID right here. Now going back to our Airtable, we can see that our Glide record ID now has a value, which then we can use in our Glide URL formula in order to make our custom URL to send to our client. There's one last thing that we need to do. We need to head back into our Glide app and we need to set up a visibility condition on our bookings collection. Now, in order to do that, Glide always creates a users table automatically, and it always adds one user, which is you, the owner. And you can see it has like an email field, which is already your email. So it's a safe way to go and click on your collection, click on options, and under visibility, you can set this up to be the email of the profile of the user, and it always needs to be your email. Now, it's safe to assume that this email is always going to be yours and not your clients. So that means that the clients will not be able to see each other's bookings. And there you have it.
That's it from us. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this particular video on how we can use Glide and get it to talk back and forth to Airtable. It was Steph's first, but not last for sure, video that he's done on the channel. So we're going to see a lot more of him in 2025. And yeah, that's it from us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.